2021 was a mixed bag in a lot of aspects, but one thing that for me personally it was great for was visits to amusement parks. This year I made it to a total of 10 parks and I got a total of 42 new roller coaster credits. That might not be a lot to some of you, but this has been by far my biggest year, and trust me, I'm gonna go way bigger in 2022. 2022 is honestly gonna be crazy. But 2021, today I'll be going over my whole 2021 roller coaster season, giving a recap, and at the end of the video, I'll talk about some of the things I'm looking forward to going into 2022. January and February were pretty uneventful for me, just the normal school stuff as parks were not open yet. Then at the end of March, I made my first park visit of the year and got my first new roller coaster credit of the year. The park was Adventurepark USA and the credit was Tumbleweed, a little Phantom clone. This park is 5 minutes away from me, so why did I not have this credit before? That's a very good question. I also got some re-rides on the Schwarzkopf Wildcat, which are always fun rides. April was pretty uneventful as well, with only a few stops in an adventure park, but then on May 2nd, I made my first visit to Hersheypark since 2016. Far too long in my opinion. I visited with 3 of my non-coaster enthusiast friends that still love coasters, which really enhanced the experience, and this visit solidified Hersheypark's spot as my second favorite park, slotted under Cedar Point and above Islands of Adventure. I of course got re-rides on all my favorites, except for Storm Runner because that was still closed, and I got the 3 credits I was missing. I finally got on Sky Rush, which had been closed when I previously tried to ride it. That became my new number 2, and spoiler alert, but it's the best roller coaster that I rode in 2022. Everything about that ride is just insane. Then I also got on Canobie, now my favorite B&M Hyper, over Raging Bull and Nitro, and then Coco Cruiser. I was very pleased with my visit because even though it was a Sunday, I got on every single roller coaster that was open at least once. I didn't really do anything for the next month, but then on June 12th, I went to the Mount Airy Carnival, my local carnival with the same group of friends, and I rode the sketchiest Ferris wheel in existence. Fast forward to June 21st, and this is my first visit back to my home park, Six Flags America, since 2019, as I couldn't get to any parks in 2020 for various reasons. This was just a quick stop as the park was packed and I got one ride on Superman Ride of Steel. Then the heavens opened up and we ended up just going home. Then I was originally supposed to be spending the July 4th week in Sandusky, Ohio for a baseball tournament, staying on Cedar Point property and popping in and out of the park all week. But as it turned out, that tournament ended up getting cancelled at the last minute, and to compensate, we instead took a trip to New Jersey to visit Six Flags Great Adventure on July 6th and 7th. This was right after the El Toro derailment, so unfortunately no El Toro, but I did get on all the other roller coasters there. I was lucky enough to get on Jersey Devil my first day there, as after that the ride was then subsequently closed for an extended period of time. Anyway, Six Flags Great Adventure is an absolutely incredible park that even without El Toro, seems to me to be one of the best Six Flags parks. It's the best one I've personally been to, placing a smidge ahead of Great America. Kingda Ka is a religious experience that every enthusiast needs to do at some point in their life. I personally prefer it ever so slightly to Top Thrill Dragster, a ride that is already insane. Then I was back at it again just 8 days later for a day trip to Delgrosso's amusement park and Lakemont Park in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Delgrosso's turned out to be a pleasant experience despite my limited time there. It's such a nice park that feels sort of like a tiny Italian Hersheypark. I'll definitely be back in the future, especially because at Lakemont Park, Leap the Dips ended up being closed. Leap the Dips was supposed to be my 100th credit, but that honor by default ended up going to Skyliner. Skyliner was pretty awesome though, some fantastic buzzbar airtime on the first 2 drops, and great laterals throughout the ride. I also got to see a game of my favorite sport while going up the lift hill. Lakemont Park is fairly small and feels more like a public park than an amusement park, but it has a sort of charm to it that I absolutely loved. Plus a little side note, but I also got my driver's learning permit earlier in the day, so I hit 100 credits and gained the ability to drive in the same day. My next park visit came on August 6th, and this was to Hersheypark. I'm not really going to go into a whole lot of detail for this visit because it's relatively the same as my May visit, but this time I did get on Storm Runner, which is so much better than I remembered it being. It's now my favorite launch coaster, and I actually have it over Maverick. Then on August 9th, I went to Six Flags St. Louis in the middle of my family vacation. This is my second visit ever to this park, and while there are a lot of things that I think could improve, operations, Six Flags St. Louis is always a fun time. As someone who loves wooden coasters, it's absolutely impossible to get bored at this park. American Thunder is a super underrated GCI, Boss is one of the most intense woodies out there, and Screamin' Eagle delivers crazy laterals and airtime. And beyond that, I find all their steel coasters to be really fun rides, and yes, that includes Boomerang and Ninja. As I have grandparents that live in the St. Louis area, I will for sure be back to this park for yearly visits. Then on August 13th, still on that same family trip, I spent a day at Six Flags Great America. This was my second visit to that park as well, but that first day I had limited time and it was absolutely packed, so I only got on 7 coasters. This time around I got on every single roller coaster in the park except for Superman Ultimate Flight, which is fine because I rode that last time and at Great Adventure. And I got 2 rides on Goliath and Raging Bull. I found a new appreciation for Goliath as it may not have had the most elements, but pretty much all the elements on it would be standouts on any RMC. That one airtime hill has airtime that matches, if not exceeds, any hill on Twisted Timbers or Steel Vengeance. Of course, I certainly do prefer both those rides over Goliath. I'm just saying that Goliath moved way up in my rankings. My highlight for the day was probably the first hour there because I managed to knock out Dark Knight, Joker, Batman the Ride, Vertical Velocity, Little Dipper, and Sprocket Rockets with no lines at all. All rides that I had missed on my first visit. After that, the park became slammed, but I still got re-rides on all the rides that I loved the first time. Also, I did get on Wizard and Demon in the second half of the day, the final 2 credits I needed, both of which are fantastic classic roller coasters. There's so much to talk about Great America that I just can't talk about it in a short amount of time without it sounding super scattershot. This park is just huge and there's so much to it. My next park visit after that took place at Six Flags Good America, my home park, and my first true visit back there since 2019. Batwing was closed, but I ended up getting on all my other favorites from the park, and I rode my first Giant Discovery, which is now my favorite flat ride. Superman is still an elite hyper, Joker's Jinx was much more intense and fast-paced than I remembered, Wild One delivers awesome airtime and laterals, Firebird was way smoother than 2019 and jumped up 50 spots in my rankings, and Roar was mediocre. The park was actually surprisingly crowded, but I still got a ton of rides because the operations were actually phenomenal. You can really see the impact that the new park president is having. Next, on September 20th, my birthday, I visited my big local fair, the Great Frederick Fair. This year they had a Wisdom Dragon Wagon, an Interpark Super Cyclone, and a Fajume Wacky Worm on offer. The only one that I hadn't ridden before was the Wacky Worm, so I snagged that credit. The highlights of the day, though, were easily the old Larson Looper that has buzzbar type restraints. Yes, on a Larson Looper that holds you upside down for 10 to 12 seconds at a time. And the Zipper Ride that has no restraints at all. You just have to hold on. It's awesome. My next park visit came on October 17th, and this was to King's Dominion as my big birthday present was a Cedar Fair Platinum Pass. This is my first visit to King's Dominion, and I mean, that top 2 though. Twisted Timbers and Intimidator 305, both of which are some of the most insane coasters that I've ever experienced, and they complement each other the best that 2 elite rides really ever could, because Intimidator 305 is pure raw intensity and speed, and then Twisted Timbers is all about the ejector airtime. Both rides initially cracked my top 5, and after my second visit to the park a week later, they both ended up in my top 4. Outside those 2, the highlights were Grizzly and Dominator. Grizzly is up there as maybe the most underrated coaster I've ever ridden. That thing was just trying to throw me off the ride the whole time, and Dominator is everything that you want out of a floorless coaster. Beyond that, I'd say that every single other coaster at the park is somewhere between solid to great. I can't wait until the new Jungle Expedition area opens next year. That wasn't my last King's Dominion visit though. I went again on November 26th for Winterfest, and this visit was a bit disappointing because the only 2 coasters open for the event, Dominator and Twisted Timbers, closed after the first 2 hours because of cold temperatures, and then the lines for all the open flat rides were just insane. I still had fun though on my 3 rides on Twisted Timbers. Plus, I stopped by Funland at Fredericksburg earlier in the day where I got on my first SBF spinner. First of far too many to come, that is. 2 days later, I visited Six Flags America, and this park on the other hand was absolutely dead. This time around, Roar was flying through the course. I mean, it was running smooth and giving borderline ejector airtime at certain points in the ride. Since the park was so dead, I stayed on the same train for ride after ride, and with only 4 hours at the park, I rode Roar 11 times, Wild One 4 times, Firebird 3 times, Mind Eraser 2 times, plus 1 ride on Raging Cajun, Voodoo Drop, and the Flyers. You guys don't like this park? Fine. Less lines for me. So that was it for me in 2021, except for one thing. I will be visiting Six Flags Great Adventure for a second time, this time from December 26th to 27th. But I just wanted to get this video out by Christmas, so that trip has not happened yet. Anyways, in 2021 I surpassed 100 credits and got a total of 42 new credits to bring my total count to 123. The highlight new coasters of the year were definitely Skyrush, Canymodium, I-305, Twisted Timbers, and King Dakar. As for the rides I had already ridden but moved up quite a lot in my rankings, you had Firebird and Joker's Jinx from Six Flags America, Wildcat, Lightning Racer, and Fahrenheit from Hersheypark, Boss at Six Flags St. Louis, Goliath at Six Flags Great America, and Stormrunner at Hersheypark. 2021 was by far my best year yet, but what's in store for 2022? Well, in 2022, I'll have both a Six Flags and a Cedar Fair pass, and I will be able to drive to places on my own because I'll have my driver's license. My big trip for the year will be in April, as I'll be taking a marching band trip down in Florida, and I will have a full week at the Disney parks. As for Cedar Fair parks, I'm looking to get to Dorney Park, Carowinds, Cedar Point, and Kings Island. Then maybe on a trip to Carowinds I could pair Dollywood as well. In the Midwest, probably revisit Six Flags St. Louis, Great America, and pay a visit to Indiana Beach. Then I also have an idea for a somewhat local trip that will include Nickelodeon Universe, Coney Island, the Connecticut parks, and Six Flags New England. And then I want to get most of the parks within a 4-hour radius of me done, including Busch Gardens Williamsburg, Idlewild, Dutch Wonderland, Kennywood, Clementon Park, Funplex Mount Laurel, Knoebels, plus all the parks I've already been to. If the channel keeps going well and I can save up enough ad revenue money, this stuff is all very possible, and I cannot wait to see what 2022 has in store. So that's about all I have for this video. Make sure you guys leave any suggestions, thoughts, or video ideas down in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys later. See ya.